And welcome to another show, Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host, Tina. How you doing, Tina?
Hey, Rob. How's it going?
Oh, pleasant. It seems like it's been forever since last week.
Yeah, right? Since like 5 minutes ago. Since a pee break, not a tea break. We were talking teas, but
T's and P's.
Yeah.
Gotta have.
Teas and P's.
Sometimes you gotta pee.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. The funny things that we talk about right before we go on the air is sometimes the funniest thing in the world. I kind of brought this up. This is actually something, if to be perfectly honest, this is on our list from a long time ago.
Is it really?
Oh yeah.
I should look at that. I have the list and I have looked at it.
I pulled up the list for shits and giggles. This was idea, let's just say, because I don't want
32.
Oh no, it's it's like let's see. This was number 113.
Okay.
On our list of things to do. Should we talk about relationship issues with our friends and family? Now, the funny thing is I was looking at the list and it came up because we talk at my work a lot about just things, right? Things that are going on in our lives.
You and your coworkers, right?
Yeah, my coworkers.
Okay.
And truly, there's only one female in the whole place, and it's actually my manager. And we talk about everything, and I mean everything. We talk about relationships we're in, whatever personal shit comes up, because sometimes that's what you do at work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty reserved about that these days because I just think that being a little more personal, I used to talk a lot about shit to a lot of people. And I think that sometimes that'll get you in trouble, right? I'm not in a relationship. So, I don't have to really worry about the judging of someone. Even though I like somebody and I do talk about her sometimes, I don't get, I try not to get too deep in that just because there's history and I'd have to go over a lot of history and dumb shit that I've done. So, but everyone else in my place is married with the exception of one guy. So there's a lot of, we always talk about spouses and wives and this and that. And in my case, I go, okay, do you do it or don't you do it? With friends. And I think that there's a boundary, right? You work in a place where a lot of people talk, right?
There are no boundaries in the salon with what people say.
You're a hairdresser. So, and I think that kind of goes with the territory, right? It's kind of like being a bartender where people
or a psychologist without, without
the
only
money
being in the room with one person.
Right. Exactly. And I think, look, we all want to bounce things off of people because we might think we're not crazy or we're crazy and we want to hear the opposite. We want to hear
well, I think we talk about what we're thinking about. And if we're thinking about our relationship, that's what we're going to want to talk about because that's what you're processing and working on. And relationships really take a lot of thought. And you go through so many things that keeping it all inside would be terribly frustrating because you need to bounce ideas off to see if you're, to kind of like regulate where you are.
Right.
But I think you could also take that too far.
Yeah, well, exactly, because I think you just don't know what you're going to hear. And 9 times out of 10, we hear something we don't want to.
Yeah.
Right. Or we hear like, I don't understand, like, that kind of thing where, and a guy at my work, we talked about him before, like he's going through some issues and he wants to bounce things off because I think he's just like, he's frustrated. And when you're frustrated, you need to vent. And
plus, how many men pick up the phone and actually call somebody when they're having a situation to bounce it off? Men don't ask for help. So it makes sense to me that he would bring that into work.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I don't do it. And I probably should because
I know I leave the door open for you all the time and you seldomly walk through it.
No, I suffer in silence, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's, look, because I think as men, we're fixers. So we try to internally fix all the time. It's like, and look, as much as you can only, steep in your own shit for so long. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of have to just go, okay, this is what it is, or that's what it is. And I think men need to do it more, right? We need to bounce things off, mostly other men. But I definitely think that we need to do it with everyone. Like we need to talk to people. And when we do, things will get better.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there is also going a little far, right? Because we all judge.
From an early age, I don't remember who told me, but I remember being a little kid and she told me, don't talk about your man to your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell them. And she was very specific. Don't talk about the size of their penis or how long they could go before they come,
mm-hmm.
or what dirty things they say to you. Anything, the interactions that go on between a man and a woman, you do not talk about. Don't tell them how big his dick is. Don't say anything. You don't want to talk about anything you want them to think about later.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me, I don't know why that stuck. And I wasn't even having sex when I was told that. Like, it was way out of left field at the time I heard it. But it sat in my head enough to where I've really taken that into consideration, and I don't want to talk about stuff like that. And I don't talk about stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I let everybody else talk and I laugh and I'm like, good for you. Just kind of sweep it under the table.
I'm very much the same. In any relationship I'm in, I have never told my male friends ever, because it's none of their fucking business. That's the first thing. Secondly, what happens behind closed doors is very personal.
There. Yeah.
It's a very personal. I told you, I also, like, I couldn't be in a relationship where I shared my mate ever.
Right.
I don't share well. I don't share my fucking toys well. I'm definitely not going to share my woman ever. Like, and it's funny because, like, you talk about, like, we've talked about it before on the show, but like three-ways, I've never been in a three-way. Because I don't share well. I don't want that. When I have a girlfriend, she's mine, and no one else's. You look, and there is something to that. Like, you want to look at my girlfriend, more power to you. But once you cross the line of lusting after or wanting it, the gloves get put on, and
get that.
It's crazy. But I don't share things with my friends like that, because that's the most intimate thing in the world, is whatever. I probably have never, and I can't tell you, there's a very short list of people that I've told, like, oh, this girl kisses the best I've ever had. Just because, again, that's something that should spark my brain and memory, and not as someone else's. I don't want someone looking at them going, oh, that he says they kiss the best. It's you should always think that they kiss the best, and that's up to you. But so for me, sharing stuff like that is it's dangerous, and no different than men talking about, like, how things are going on at their home. Like, my coworker has said things to me that I kind of have to step back and go, okay, how do I say this without breaking eggs? Right. Because I don't want to break him and say, oh, this is what you can and can't say, or this is what I would do, because what I would do is different, because I'm probably a different person emotionally. So that's why bouncing things off friends can be dangerous, because and
everybody's got a different point where they could tolerate things too.
Yeah. And an approach, your approach to things is totally different. And how deep are the feelings that you're feeling? it's no different than family. Like, and I mean family. Like I've told my son things that I probably shouldn't have, but thankfully I think he's always been a little bit more mature because he's had to grow up quick.
Mhm.
The person I like said, you know, what have you told him? Or does he know this? And you have to be careful about
I
that.
don't know. My parents told I I could only speak for me because I don't believe that they were the same way with my brother, but my parents over the years as as it was age appropriate, they pretty much told me everything. So
Mhm.
the family, oftentimes in the family, they'll come to me and say, Tina, what do you know about this? Or what do you remember? Or what did you hear? Because I heard it. I was there, or
Mhm.
I was privileged to that information. And I think for me that was okay for me to be that. I don't, maybe not everybody needs to know everything. I don't think a relationship everybody needs to know everything for sure.
Right. And I think that's kind of where I was. I've said things that I probably shouldn't have. And I
Yeah.
sort of felt bad.
Everybody does though at some point in time. Nobody's perfect.
Correct. No, and I think I said things because I wanted him to know that, like, this is how I feel.
Yeah.
And because my feelings are very strong, and and I wanted him to understand that, like, this wasn't just someone. It meant something to me. And
Right.
but on the flip side of that, you know, they came to me and said, like, oh, he probably doesn't like me because I did this to you or I've done this to you. And I said, look,
Mm.
at the end of the day, that's just reality. And I've taught my son reality since the beginning, and going through my divorce. Like, that's just shit happens.
Mhm.
And I asked my son, like, certain things about what has happened. He's much like me, where he's like, look, if you're happy with that person, great. Like, and he even said, he goes, I like her a lot. She might think I don't because things that have
He's
happened
kind
in the
of
past.
indifferent to everything though.
He
You
is,
know?
but he is very indifferent, and he's not as emotional as I am, at
Yeah.
least to some things. But you know, outside of that, the only person that really knew about the person I like is my mom, and my mom knew a lot because yeah, and I didn't even didn't have a really that kind of relationship with my mom, but I knew I could say things to her because she was the most non-judgmental person on the planet. She would probably talk shit to me, but she wouldn't judge me for it because she's like, look, if you
Absolutely.
like somebody, my mom was married 5 times. Like, there was no, there was no like, oh, I'm better than you. My mom got out of relationships that she wasn't happy in. She didn't stay.
Yeah.
So she had that very big attitude, but she also had the attitude of, like, if you like her, you got to tell her, and she needs to know. And if she doesn't go with you, that's just the way it is. But outside of my son and her, not many people know. But that's just because I try to keep things secret or keep things close to to my chest, because I think other people like to use that shit against you. And they'll go, oh, well,
Yeah. And the
she's
funny
still in your
thing,
life.
yeah. And the funny thing about that is women are the worst at putting it back in your face when you say something. I think they're way worse than men because men don't want confrontation as a
Right.
whole, like as
Mhm.
a group of people. They don't want it. Where women always seem to want to put a little nudge or a little stab at you.
Mhm.
So and they talk more, which is funny. Like women talk more about their relationships and they get, you know, they get it back for sure. And men who don't say anything but they don't give it to each other either. I find that's kind of funny. I never thought of it that way.
I think men are very, hey, this is my problem, fix it.
Yeah.
Women may say, oh, he's a great guy, but he has these red flags. And they go, oh, you need to get out right away. It's like, well, that's not what I said. I said that he's a great guy and he has this, is it worth, a guy will go, hey, I love this chick to death. She's the best thing in the whole world. But
will they? No.
Yeah, they will. I think you'd be way more surprised. You'd be a lot surprised.
Really?
Oh yeah. Men talk up their women in front of other men like it's the fucking thing to do.
And women down them.
Yeah, and I think men don't talk up their women to other women enough. They will. They will. If they're goo-goo, they'll tell them everything. And I think there's girls in my life that fucking hate me because I've said many good things about the person I like. There's a person in me that just goes, you're a fucking idiot because you've been holding on to this fucking pipe dream forever and she's never going to be with you. And I go, yeah, probably, but she's still great. And they don't get it. And I went, that's just life though. And you can't change me. And I try not to. And no one should try to change me. That's just the way it is. But
you shouldn't beg for love. I always go back to that. You could feel however you want to for somebody, but if they're not feeling it, if they're not reciprocating it, you don't have to fight for that.
No, I
shouldn't
agree.
Fight for that.
I totally agree with that. And I think there's something to both sides of that. But men generally, I think, go to their male friends and they'll go, hey, she's great. She does this every blue moon. It's not the end of the world. It's a red flag, but it's not a red flag. It's a yellow flag to me. Because you have to be honest with yourself about that. But a guy will still try to fix that, right? He'll go, I understand. Yeah, it wouldn't bother me either. You should do it. If a man goes to his female friends and goes, man, I love this chick to death. She's fucking super awesome. I'm goo-goo over her, but she does this. And that first thing a girl will do is go, that's the biggest red flag. I would dump that bitch in a second. And you're like, wait a second. Like, I don't get it. So I think friends can be the detriment of your relationship in two different ways. Either the female likes you and is burying the person you like. And or the man, your male friend, thinks I'm going to lose my best friend if he goes with this girl. I'm going to bury her. It's one of the two. So if they're talking bad, that's what it is. Family, I think, is a whole other issue. Family, if it's your parents, they're doing it because I think they're trying to protect you.
Because nobody's good enough.
Because nobody's good enough. Exactly. And if it's children, I think it's also a personal thing, maybe of they're in a shitty relationship and they don't want to see you happy. And I'm talking older children, right? Or they're going to lose something in this as well. If their dad gets in a relationship, they're going to lose something that they've always had, and it's time or presence or money or whatever it is. They're losing something with that. And that's sad. I think that there's something, and maybe because I have said a million times, the relationships with my parents, they both at one point married very young people. Like my mom married someone that was my age at the time. And my dad married someone 20 years younger. And both times I went, if you're happy, that's all I give a shit, because it's not my life. I can't.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, but my thing is, I can't live for you. I can't live for you. You have to live it. And I think that we as friends and family need to look at it that direction. I can't live in my son's shadow. If he's happy, more power to him. And if he's happy and I'm not, I need to shut the fuck up. I shouldn't derail his relationship for mine.
No.
But I think that's what people do. They go, oh, this person's going to be happy. How can I fuck it up because I'm not happy? And that's sad. And that's why we shouldn't talk with our friends and family, because there could be ulterior motive, and there could be, I'm in this horrible place, and if my mom gets in a relationship and she's happy, I can't have none of that. I got to find a way, or I got to.
Because misery loves company.
That's what I'm saying.
And hurt people. So,
and they'll talk down. They'll talk down your mate to make sure that they still have their position in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Or when you get this mate, they won't even take the time to try to meet them and understand them. They'll just shit on them from the beginning. Like, oh, this happened. I don't like them, so don't bring them around. It's like, well, wait a second. You really don't know that person. You're either doing it on how you see them. So if they have a certain look, right? Or their past. And if you're going on their past, that means that you haven't grown as a person either. So I should judge you how you were 6 years ago?
With other people in other situations.
I don't even go into it to a relationship with a mate, how their old relationships were, because none of that matters to me. At the end of the day, if you're not going into a relationship going, okay, someone's going to go, oh, you're not as good. Like, I'll give you an example. Family will always, the first thing that they do is they go, that new person's not as good as them. Like that's shit that happens all the time. Like, I can't believe you're going to date this new person. The person you dated 2 people ago was amazing. Why aren't you still with them? It's like, well, because it didn't fucking work. Like, that's why. And if you're going to judge on that, we're all in a bad place. I don't even go into the relationship thinking that.
That to me sounds like somebody's having an opinion about something they shouldn't have any opinion about. Like,
exactly. Well, that's it. But that's
it.
But that's the kind of the thing. It's like what I'm trying to tell you is like, if I'm getting in a relationship with someone new, right? But I know their past. I know the last 4 people they've been with because I've known them a while. The first thing I'm going to tell you is, if someone came to me and said, you're never going to be like the person I was with before, you know what I'm going to tell them? You're fucking right.
God.
You know why? Because you're not with them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to be them, because for one, I'm already better. And I know that sounds egotistical, but if you're not going into a relationship with somebody knowing you're better than their other ones, you're always going to fail. You should think that you're better than their last relationship because they're not with them.
And I don't even think about it. Like, I don't compare myself to anybody. Like, I don't remember ever being like, oh, well, I'm sure I'm better than they are, or I'm sure this or that. I never even looked at it. I'm like, well, why would I compare with myself something that failed? I never even,
right.
It was not a thought for me.
I just think that I think human nature, and you're lucky. If you don't do that, you're in a much better place than most people. Because I think human nature is that. I'm
trying to not torture myself either. I try not to encourage thoughts that are just going to fuck with me anyway. You know what I mean? I'm really not wanting to go that route.
There's a comedian, I have to get his name, but he does a bit where he talks about how he loves his girlfriend, but his ex-girlfriend's boyfriend was a Navy SEAL. And he's like, how do you live up? How do I pass that up? How do I say I'm better than that? And then he, the whole bit is like, yeah, he's a Navy SEAL. Like, he'll kill me. He's big. He's good looking. Like, all these things. But at the end of the day, the real point of that is he's not with her anymore. So there's a reason. And there's a reason for all that, whatever it is. Like, I'm one that says, I judge me however you want, but I don't give a shit how that relationship was. It has nothing to do with me. If you think that person is the greatest, and whatever reason why it didn't work, that I have to live up to that, you're fucking crazy, because you're never going to live up to that. And truly,
why compare?
And no, but why do I want to live up to that? It didn't work. Live up to the next thing, is it'll work. Like
I don't think, I think that I've always been told, oh, you're different than what other girls are. You think differently than that. So I don't know. I just never thought to compare myself. If somebody said, oh, you're just like my ex-girlfriend, then I would look for it then, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it never, I always get the, like, you're a guy's girl. You don't think like girls. You don't get jealous like they do. You just won't play the games. Like, I get stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've been kind of told the same thing, that you're not like other guys that I've been with. And that should tell you a lot about yourself, right? I think if we continue to date the same people over and over and over again, you're not growing.
Right.
The person I like down the street, nothing like the people I've dated. A lot of differences, actually. So much that it's like almost funny. But, I don't also go to my friends and family and go, oh, she's so different and she's like this and like this and like this. Because it's none of their business. And that's just me as a person. But I think too many people rely on their friends to tell them how bad their relationship or how good their relationship is, instead of looking internally. It's not a shock to your system when you go, oh, my relationship's shitty. It's just not. But I think at the end, when it ends, you go, why? At least for me. I mean, I kind of, looking back on my marriage, I totally knew it was shitty. I knew it was. I just didn't want to have the repercussions of it ending, because we all stay.
I remember talking to you one time, because I open it up to you now, and then I don't force you. Where I know back in the day I used to force you to talk to me, but I'm not trying to do that to you anymore. I've learned the error of my ways.
Right.
But one of the things I did try to talk to you about was your marriage, and you just didn't seem happy, but you weren't going to let on that you were unhappy either.
Right.
And so I was trying to talk to you about it, like, hey, are you all right? And I pushed just a little bit, and you were like, nope, not talking about it. Everything's great. Whatever. And I'm like, okay. And I knew that it wasn't great, but there was no way you were going to talk, and there was no way I was going to push. But I said something in case you needed to say something to me, and then I let it be because you weren't ready, or that's just not what you do,
right. Yeah.
So,
and I think look, I think I've grown as a person getting older as well. Like, I think I'm less likely now, if someone comes to me and go, hey, are you okay? I don't go, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
You think so?
You still do. Even when I asked how you doing with your mom, I'm fine.
Yeah.
She doesn't affect my day to day.
Yeah, but I think that you're right. There is things like that, but I think you also have to, on things like death, is you do things differently.
But that to me is when I feel like somebody should be checking in. But I also, if you're okay with it, I don't want to open a wound for you either.
Yeah.
So,
and look, I don't think I was okay then, but I also didn't.
Weren't.
I think it's a little different too, because my mom was sick. If it would have happened out of nowhere, I would have been.
But see, you
hammered.
do that. That's the thing. Instead of just saying, it was really hard to process this or that, because, and that is where I was going with you, is like, checking in with you and your process and what was going on. And you were very closed off. It wasn't for you, but I know you talked to somebody, because you don't stay quiet.
Yeah, that's true.
Completely.
I don't stay quiet.
But I just I'm going to open the door and peek in. Do you need me? Are we good? Like,
right. I just think too that with relationship stuff, you have to, that there's such a fine line of a razor to walk with what you should and shouldn't say. Because here's the thing, if I get crazy and I'm not in a relationship, and maybe if I did date the person down the street and I got into something, I would probably change on this podcast a little bit, because I would probably keep a lot very close to the vest, because I don't want someone judging that person on on something that they really don't have any idea of the real thing.
Oh,
So
and they weren't the one that told their story either. We are.
That's very correct. And
Yeah.
and look, I've asked people to come on this show to tell their stories, not just her, but other people. And I'd rather have their story told by them because I'm giving you my jaded look at that. And I don't know everything, and I don't pretend to. And that's kind of the reason why, like, if you get in a relationship, you have to talk about things and get them out in the open. Not everything. Some things don't need to be told in a relationship, but I think that there are things that you should. But I don't want people to prejudge somebody based on my recollection of their old relationships. That's not fair. So
no, you shouldn't go into any sort of situation doing that. Like, make your own decision. It won't take you but 5 minutes to figure out if the person's an asshole or not. You don't need to use other people's opinions for that. Find your own.
And I think that's why you have to be careful about talking to friends and family about your relationship, because it can be twisted. I could go, oh, well, this is what happened this day or this time. And they're only going to remember that time, instead of going, well, you're still with them or you still want to be with them. Well, yeah, but this is what happened. Did you fix it? So there's so many more questions that I think that the moral of this story, I think, is, hey, be careful about what you say to friends and family, because they really don't know the 100% story. They know the 80% that you've told them. The 20% could be the bigger picture of, hey, this guy's trying to do this, or she's really a great person. Shit happened, and whatever that is doesn't change the past, but it could alter the future tremendously. And I don't want my friends and family judging somebody on some shit that might have happened to me 6 years ago that I said in passing.
Yeah.
Because that's not fair to who that person is today.
And it was one situation that was blown up and put under a microscope and talked about. And
it was blown up by me, who might have been having a bad day, or I was
absolutely
angry because of, I think I should have been in that place. So that's not fair to that person. And that's why you don't want to talk a lot. Look, friends can help you. I also don't want to say that, because I think when my friend talks to me at work, I do my biggest best these days to stop, think, and then come up with an answer. Because if I don't, I like to twist what I'm going through emotionally into that situation, and that's not fair.
Well, that's what everybody does. That's human behavior.
Yeah. So that's why I stop now. He'll say something to me like, oh, well, she did this, this, and this. And instead of me going, well, this is what I'd fucking do, I can't, because for one, I'm not in a relationship. Secondly, I'm going to take the emotions that are riding off somebody else and pop them into his situation, which his wife isn't the girl I like. So I try to step back, because he's going through some shit, and it's detrimental to his marriage. And I don't want to say something that would crush that.
Yeah. What I try to do when I'm talking to somebody, because I'm behind the chair and I'm kind of trapped when I'm working, I have to be with the person I'm working on. And they will say things and stuff. And I try to give them my honest view. And I was like, well, if they're doing this, that's something that you really need to look at. And can you deal with it and can you not? But at the end of the relationship, or not the relationship, the conversation, at the end of the conversation, I say stuff like, I know you're going to figure this out. Just give it a little time and don't be too hard on yourself. You'll figure it out. And I find that when I do that, it's more empowering than going, that guy's an asshole and you should leave him. Like, that's not for me to say. And I know in my 20s, I would have been like, oh, fuck that. Yeah. Get out of it now while you can. Because we were in our 20s and we had all kinds of opinions.
And you also have a lot of time.
Yes. Yes.
When you're older in discussing relationships, I think you have to be very sturdy and like, hey, look, you're right. It can work out, or it'll all work out in the end. Because I don't want to push somebody too hard and then go, oh yeah, you're right. And then it fucks something up and they're, unhappy.
I also think that you need to know your partner's boundaries. I had a friend tell me, I think it's best that you don't say anything about me, and you shouldn't reference me, or you shouldn't say anything about me on your podcast. Like, shouldn't be. And I don't know what I said, to be honest with you. I don't re-listen.
Right.
But
you need to listen to the show.
I do. I think I'm at that point where I'm noticing I do now, because I need to be on my toes. But it's funny in my life when I say things, it may sound like I'm talking about 6 people that I'm friends with, because it seems like my life is themed in a certain direction at a certain time. So, and I'll think like, did I say something about you? I don't recall, but there definitely is a list of things I will not cover with anybody else about my partner. There's a long list of things that if it gets said, I'm going to stay quiet. And if my friends who know, because we've all made rules that there's no judgment, we're going to fuck up. We're just going to go with that. When I feel like I'm being judged, I just don't talk to them about the situation. I'll talk to maybe my other 2 girlfriends that I tell pretty much everything to, but I won't go to that one. And I'll even say, I don't think we agree on this one situation, and I just don't want to talk about it with you. Right. And I won't. And I think that that's important. It's important to have boundaries, and it's important to not. The way I was described it is, when you're in a relationship, you want things that are sacred to just the 2 of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's important that there's probably more things sacred than not. Because it's too easy to get wrapped up in, hey, I'm looking for help, instead of going right to your partner and saying, let's fix this.
Well, and that's the thing. When you have a partner, that's the one you're supposed to be working with.
Yeah.
That's the one you're supposed to be turning to. That's the one who you're supposed to be putting in the best light, because they're your partner. They're your person that you're choosing to give your everything to. And what you say to them and about them is a reflection in monumental ways. So you have to be careful when you're talking about somebody that you love, that you hold them in a high regard, and you show the best side of them, not the worst.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, like, relationships are a choice, right?
Yeah.
You choose the person you're with for whatever reason, and you choose to build that relationship by talking to friends and family. You are taking stones out from the bottom of your house. And at some point it's going to crumble. The whole point of a relationship, and I know it sounds like so Hollywood and so cliche, is I want a best friend. So I should be able.
That's a key ingredient to things working out. Yeah. Is that you're friends? Because you're not having sex 24/7. You're not paying bills 24/7. You're not watching TV 24/7. Everything is a constant change and cycle, and it's life. And you want somebody that you could do it with.
Right. So if you can
have some fun.
If you can cut out having to talk to your friends about your relationship and talk to your friend that you're in the relationship with, you're cutting out one piece that you don't have to bounce off someone. And I'm not saying that that's easy.
It's like you're cutting off the end of a shaky tail, one that's just going, because they're not living what you're living. So they're not going to know what you know.
And
they're not going to have the information.
And I don't want to say that that's easy, because talking to your mate about things is not easy. Matter of fact, it's detrimental sometimes. but I definitely think that if you know you're with the right person and you have a path of communication, you cut off the one thing that you have to worry about is talking to someone about it, that are your friends, that are going to not live the situation and judge you upon it. Then the family part is more of an arm distance away. Then you can go, okay, if I have to bounce this off somebody, maybe it's this person or inside the family. But like I said, I think I'm more of a believer these days of keeping most things very close to the vest, and don't put your dick in a vice. Why would I want to do that when I can go to my mate and go, look, this is how I feel. Like things aren't good, and I love you to death, but I want to fix it, and I want to make sure that we're stronger than we were before. And if it's something that bothers you, we need to fix it together. I don't need to go down the street and ask my best friend, hey, dude, check this out. This is what's going on in my relationship. And, are you going through the same shit? Why? When I can just go to her and go, look, I know this bothers you about me. What is it that I can do to change? Because if you want to change in a relationship, you will. That's another thing I fucking hate about when people, like mostly narcissistic assholes. Oh, you want to just change me. No, I want you to change because it's something you want to do for a better of a relationship. We change and we can change, and you're going to change naturally. So if your mate is changing naturally, you're either going to change with them or you're not going to be with them anymore. That's it. Because you're not going to live with a mask on going, oh, she's done this and now I don't want to be with her, but I'm going to stay because I financially can't get out of it. And we have kids, and that shit is just going to wreck you. And you're going to be an old man who's bitter and miserable.
Well, and isn't that the case for a lot of people?
Yeah, because we stay in relationships way too long. And we enter relationships with people we shouldn't be with because it's based on other people we've been with. Like, look, people who end up with narcissistic people have been in relationships with people that have always been mentally or physically or whatever against them. So they're calm in chaos instead of having someone who's calm. So when they're with someone who's calm all the time, they don't know how to love them. And that's a fact. This is what happens with many people.
I think from birth, we're set to be a certain way in a relationship based on what our examples were. Yeah. And I know most of the kids that I grew up with, their home lives were shit. And now that we've all grown up together, because I have a very big group of friends that we've stayed friends since very young kids. And I look at them now and I see the reality of what happens when they don't have a functional family to look to as the example of how life is supposed to be. And a lot of them can't be in relationships because they just don't know how to have a healthy one, and they don't want to have one that they had, that their parents had when they were growing up. And so I find it's, now that I'm older and I'm able to see everything, it amazes me that what you see in a relationship as a child is really what you're going to seek out as an adult.
It's what you're going to strive for sure.
Yeah.
I think there is breaking cycles, but or
not easy to do.
It's not. Well, and then here's the flip side of that. I know a girl who was in a very, very great family environment. But her self-worth was absolute shit. So this is my friend who was in a marriage for 17 years and unhappy because that guy, all he ever told her is, who's going to want you to, you're fat, you don't look good. Who's going to want you with 2 kids? Just belittled her into submission that she believed every word. And she was gorgeous. And I mean, stunning. And no matter what, to this day, I had talked to her probably 3 years ago. And I was like, oh, hey, I'd like to come out. I'm going to be out near you. I'd like to visit you just to say hi. And she's like, that'd be good. But I really don't want you to see me the way I look right now.
What?
So I'm dead. And I'm 100% being serious. She's like, no, I'm not happy with how I look. I'm glad you're doing okay. But, I don't think that's a good idea. And I was like, oh, okay. So even to this day, her self-worth, and then it's gotten even worse after that. She's dated since then, and still she's just, you find out because she's dated and she's like, oh, these guys are all the fucking same and nobody wants to be in a relationship and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow. Like, so after 17 years of fucking shit, she's been dating guys who are just shit.
Well, and it sounds like she's the biggest shit scooper there is on her to herself.
She is, without a doubt. Her self-worth is zero. And no matter how much you tell her she's pretty, she'll never see it because someone has told her for so long that now she just doesn't believe it.
But see, that's what I've always said about we create our reality. We live in either our heaven and hell right here on earth. And it starts with how we treat ourselves. Mm-hmm. And she just needs to let go of so many things because she's living in a prison that she's never going to get out of because she believes she deserves to be there.
Yeah. And I told her that. I said, listen, at some point, you're going to have to give in to someone telling you you're a certain way, that you're beautiful, that they want to be with you. It at some point. And she's our age. She went to school with us. So she's 52 years old. I think she got divorced at 50. And even that, I think, kind of hit her hard. She was like, oh, I'm going to be by myself. Like, okay. But, and look, a lot of people, when they see a good guy, they run because they're not used to it. And that's her. I think she just believes that guys are in it for one thing. And maybe she doesn't know how to love a person who wants to give her love because her husband for years didn't. Just, she had told me one time that she was having sex with her husband and fantasized about another guy in her life. And it often. And I was like, you're staying in it because of the wrong reasons. And look, we all have. I'm just as guilty, but I think I've also grown from that I wouldn't ever again. The first time I know that it's over, I'm leaving because it's not worth it. It's not worth it to either of us. Why would I want to hurt the person that I fell for, obviously, for some good reason? If it didn't work out, I'm not going to punish her for it not working out. I'm going to say, look, it didn't work out. You're still a beautiful person, and I hope you find somebody. Her husband, I'm sure, didn't. As a matter of fact, he cheated on her. So there's a lot going from this. But I just think that the bigger picture is, she told me things and she talked to a friend. And I hope that during that time period, I told her the right thing. But look, I can't do it. I'm not going to lean on my friends and family to as much as I probably would have in my 20s. Just because I think that you have to be adult enough to take care of shit on your own.
Yeah, you do. And at this age, like, we have enough examples in our life that we know how to act and we know what to do and we know how to deal with things. And I find that nobody knows what I'm going through better than I do. So I do, when it comes to that situation, I do leave a lot alone. And then there's other stuff I will pop up with, or if there's something good going on, yeah, let's share it. It's a good thing. But yeah, I I do believe that there needs to be a level of closeness that should only be communicated between the two people that are in their relationship. There's a lot that needs to be kept sacred.
Yeah. The boundaries to the outside world should be very high walls.
Yeah. But I think that also too, that you should have people in your life that you can talk and you can say good things to, or good things, to them, and they're happy for you and they're genuinely looking out for your best interest. I mean, if you don't have that, that's part of the problem right there.
Agree. And that's on both sides. You should have friends and family that when you say, hey, I've met the best girl I can and I love her to death. You need the people on both sides of that to go, I am so happy for you, because maybe for the last 5 years, you've been miserable and it's nice to see you in a good place.
Yeah. My dad said a couple of things to me about, well, I don't see this happening, or I don't see that happening. And I said, where's that fucking crystal ball that you know what's going on in my life? Because I don't want to hear what, and that came from not from saying something to him, that came out of nowhere. And I was like, I put that to rest too. I remember that was years ago. I'm like, wait, where's your fucking crystal ball? Because I need to use this thing.
Right. Well, and I think that's the bigger thing. None of us have a crystal ball.
No.
That's the point. I think that's the bigger point of taking chances. People are so afraid to take a chance now because of heartbreak. I said that to somebody the other day. I said, look, some people are worth a heartbreak. And they were like, no. I said, no, that you're not seeing the point. If you don't try, you'll never know. And if you don't know that it's not good, the heartbreak goes either way. If you don't try, you have heartbreak. If you try and it doesn't work, you have heartbreak. But if you try and it works, you fucking won. So,
well, and I do believe that not everybody is to stay in your life until the end. You are supposed to be with people. You are supposed to learn lessons from them. And then when the lesson's over, it's time to move on. Or the lessons keep coming and you stay with them and you ride the wave. I'm not a fan of giving up on everybody. I don't want that to be the message that I'm sending out. I think that any two people can make anything work as long as they're both working on it.
Yep. We need to end it on that. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing that, you don't have to talk to your friends and family about it.
Exactly.
It's a great point. Well, shit. Well, let's leave it on that. That's poignant. I don't want to ruin it. Hey, make sure you check us out on our social medias, the Facebook, the Instagram, the X. You can check us out on YouTube itself. It's all audio, and you can check us out on YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple, any place you can hear a podcast. We're there. Leave a review. That'd be awesome. It helps us out. And share. So when you listen to this, there's a little arrow. Click that, send it to someone so they can hear us for the first time. I think we need Maine and Wyoming still to get our 50 states. Somewhere, someone in one of these states will listen to us. And hey, it's an opinion show, so don't get it twisted. Keep coming back every Wednesday. And if we have talked about you and it's wrong, make sure you text us.
I don't want to know.
I do.
Don't tell me.
I need to know that. And
I'll try to be better.
and thankfully, the people that are close to me that listen, they'll tell me. But yeah, look, guys, keep coming back. We enjoyed giving our rhetoric. And and get this, just so you know, Tina, for a little giggle, I put someone to sleep the other day. I was talking to them, actually physically talking to them with a video call, and they fell asleep on me. I was like, and then I told her, I go, this won't be the last time that you fall asleep listening to my rhetoric. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you in a week. Tina, have a good vacation. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.